And this raises the question now regarding the current status of higher education, how accessible it is to students, how available it is, how easy it is for students in Palestine in general, and especially in the West Bank. And in this status, what is the status of bioinformatics and software development for biology, and how much progress has now happened in Palestinian universities since you started in the 80s, while they were still in a very early stage?
Let me start with the last one. I would like just to briefly, in the 70s, in the late 70s, there were one university or two universities in Palestine. In the 80s, there were a few more. After 97, and there's a new, I would say, regime, which is the Palestinian Authority. But at that time, the Palestinian higher education was governed or was followed by the Ministry of Higher Education. So there were more flexibility in establishing new universities or colleges. And so we have now a range of, I think, maybe, I don't remember exactly the number, but more than 15 universities in both sides, in West Bank and Gaza Strip. We have several colleges. The real, let's say, output of these universities and what the real, let's say, obstacles that they are facing in the higher education, and are we happy with what we have now? I think all the Palestinian universities, they are facing similar limitations. The first one is that most of the universities, because of the political situation, are becoming like indigenous local universities. When you say a university in Nablus, I mean, I'm living in Hebrew, which is southern part of Palestine. So it's like 30 kilometers south to Jerusalem. And Nablus is 60 kilometers north to Jerusalem. You know that you almost rarely have one student who is coming from the north to the south or vice versa in West Bank. And this is because of the political situation. I mean, when you divide the West Bank into small regions and you close all these regions and you put like checkpoints everywhere to disconnect and to ensure that these regions are totally disconnected. So you are pushing all these universities to be like university that is only the students who are living in that city will be the major, let's say, I would say customers, or let's say students who are visiting or are attending this university, and there will be like no connection. So we are becoming more and more like closed with no diversity inside the university at the level of the teachers or the academics, at the level of the students. We rarely meet each other. It's easier for me sometimes to make a collaboration project with somebody from outside, because I go and travel, and then having a collaboration with somebody from Jenin or from Nablus, because I have to make a plan to travel to Jenin, which is only 100 kilometers away from me. And sometimes I cannot get there because it's closed. There are many checkpoints, and because of the, let's say, military decision taken by the Israeli army that say, okay, now today we decide that this area, or for the coming few days, it's totally closed. So the life of academics or the academicians, or the life of university life, needs freedom, needs a lot of freedom, not only in the speech, freedom in the thoughts, freedom in expressing your ideas, freedom in traveling and mobility. And this is not existing in Palestine. This is one of the factors that had affected the universities in a very bad way. That the very healthy status is to let the university open to all people. I mean, to receive academics from outside, to receive students. That we are, according to the Israeli law, we are nowadays we are not allowed to have any scholar who wants to come and teach in Palestinian university. They are not allowed. They have last year, they issued a new rule that restricted very much the the possibility of any scholar or any foreign student to come to Palestine to learn or to come to Palestine to join in a teaching staff. And when I have some time from time to time, I have, before the 7th of October, I have several occasions that I have friends coming to visit me. I mean, in collaboration mobility. I mean, I have with Norway, I have with Germany. Usually, I tell my friends who are coming like a mission from Norway or from Germany or from United Kingdom, okay, when you come to the Tel Aviv airport, don't say that you came as a scholar to stay for, let's say, 1 week to teach and to make it. Say that you came as a tourist and you would like to see Tel Aviv and Jerusalem and you like to see the Israeli, let's say, because if they know that you are coming to a Palestinian university, that will make you a big trouble, and that might lead them to decide to let you go back. Last year I had one French guy. She is from Tunisian origin, but she is a French citizen. They let her wait in the airport for 4 hours, and she was insisting that I came as a visitor, as a tourist. And they say, no, but your name has an Arabic origin. And for sure, it seems that you have somebody in West Bank that you are going to visit, and you are. And it is very difficult. I mean, so this is one of the aspects that the development and the progress and the advancement of the universities is facing, is the restrictions on the mobility for the Palestinians themselves inside Palestine, inside the West Bank. I mean, we are not talking about Gaza. Gaza is a totally different story now. Gaza has, I mean, when we talk about Gaza now, we have to think not of the university, we have to think of the survival, the daily survival there. But in West Bank, you know that since the 7th of October, all the Palestinian universities, they close their gates. They close, you cannot go to the universities because, and they, most of them, except maybe one of them, but all of them, they shift to online teaching. And the reason is very simple. All these universities, they are inside cities. Like in Hebron, we have 2 universities. In Ramallah, we have Birzeit University, which in Jerusalem, nearby, not in Jerusalem, it's in the east part, we have one university. In Jenin, we have another. In Nablus, we have another. And they are inside the cities. And these cities, they are become like islands, totally disconnected from their environment. In Hebron, I have, for example, in one of my classes, 5 of my students, they are from villages around Hebron, and no one of them is able to come to university because the city is closed. I mean, we have gates. It's like the gate of the it's like the gate for the zoo. I mean, we are like in big cages, and the decision to open or to close this is not in our hands. And it's, sometimes they open it for 2 hours, 3 hours in the middle of the day. And sometimes when you have one of the soldiers who wants just to make some kind of actions like a revenge, and he just closed it for 3-4 hours. On the second day, it might be open. I mean, it's like there is no rule. And when you think of, for example, my university, more than 60% of the students, they have to come from the periphery of the city. They are not living inside. They are living in the villages that are 10, 15 kilometers. And all of them, they have to come through 2 major entrances of the city. And these entrances are closed with big metal doors. I mean, and inside the city, many of the places are also closed with doors like cages. And I remember one of my friends from Norway, from Trondheim, from NTNU, the Norwegian University for Science and Technology. They came to visit me last year, and when they see the doors and the cages and all these fences, and they were surprised, and they say we couldn't imagine that you are living in such a strange situation. So we became accustomed, and we learn how to adapt and to survive. But when you look at this problem from outside, you can imagine, and you can you can believe how much difficult it is to manage the process of education at the university level. During the last 4 months, we had all the teaching took place online, and now by the beginning of February, we have a new semester, which is the spring semester. Now, our university invented a new style of learning, it's not online, and it's not face-to-face. It's called hybrid or blended learning. So we have to teach inside the class. Those who are able to come to the city, they go to the city, to the university, and there are, let's say, 20-30% of the teachers of the academics. They cannot come, so they teach from their homes. But those who are able to come, I live in the city inside, so I can go to the university. But this semester it's not online, so I have to go. And in case they have, for example, 30 students and only I have 10 of them attending, so I have to give them the lecture, but at the same time, I have to find the tools to open the lecture online for the rest of the students who are not there. And the other difficult situation is that not all of them, they are able to buy laptops. Some of them, they have their families, they decided to sell some of their, let's say, lands or some of their, let's say, precious things in order to pay the tuitions for the students in order to let them study. And now, because of the situation, they have to take care of their, let's say, internet connections, laptop, and they have their extra expenses of their life. And this is making some of these students, deciding to stop their studies. We have, I don't know exactly the percentage, but this year we have been in a meeting like 2 weeks ago, and there is a serious problem that a certain percentage of the students, maybe 15 to 20, they decided to quit learning. They decided to quit university at all because it is, it is non-profitable to them. Because non-profitable, it's not feasible because they have to keep the money for their families to live. And with the current situation, many of the Palestinian workers are not able to go to work, especially when in the previous, before the 7th of October, they were working in the Israeli working market. Especially in the construction and in the agriculture. And now everything is closed. So this adds again another burden on the shoulder of these families. So they have to save the little amount of money that they have for their daily life and not for paying for their kids and for daughters and sons to study. So we are really very sad that we have in my case, I have some of my very, very brilliant students. They decided to quit. They decided to stop. I have one girl that I was believing that she will continue her studies and will be a very good scientist, but suddenly she came and she said, "I'm really so sorry, but the money that I will pay, although the tuitions in Palestine is not very high. It's not like in United States or UK. It's the annual tuition for the semester tuition for a master student, or let's say for a BSc student, is almost 600 euros the semester. But they have to pay the tuitions and they have to pay the travel every day to the university. And with these restrictions of movement, they have sometimes to go and make a lot of bypasses and and do a long journey in order to get into the city through some of the, let's say, rural streets and some very funny way to get into the city. It's like an adventure. Coming to the university every day, it's like a real adventure for some of these students, and they have to pay a lot. So she say, "I'm sorry, I cannot continue. I have to save this money for my brothers and sisters who are actually waiting at home to have their day life, to have food. I cannot spend this on education while my family is waiting to buy every day their breads and their basic foods." So you can imagine these kinds of difficulties. Apart from this, the difficulties in running your research projects or research labs. Now in the last 4 months, we are almost unable to run many of our, let's say, experiments, either because of the lack of personnel, staff who can come and work, or the students. And the second point is that whenever you need some, let's say, consumables or kits, and these kits, you have to buy them through the mediators who buy either from the Israeli market or from Europe or United States, but they have to come through the Tel Aviv airport or through the Israeli customs. And, so you are controlled by the other side. If they decided not to to communicate or to sell to the Palestinian market or to provide it with the needed, let's say, consumables for kids. You cannot do it. I mean, imagine that this happens to hospitals sometimes. I mean, in hospitals also, your daily or your weekly schedule of critical work like dialysis of patients with kidney dialysis, or they are totally dependent on the availability of these basic materials. Well, they are now available with some limitation, but you can imagine that at any moment they might decide, okay, we will not let these material get access to your hospital. So again, I mean, this is what happens in the other side in Gaza. So what we learn during this time is how to survive under these very difficult conditions with the problem of mobility, accessibility to the university, the research projects. I mean, you have to have plan B, you have to have plan C, you have to start thinking of, I'm lucky in this special, I mean, the topic of the research, I'm lucky because I still can do some of the work by online. And I'm lucky still because I have my laptop and I have place where I can sit, and I'm not in outside in the streets, or I don't have laptop, I don't have connections, but you can imagine the situation in Gaza. But now I'm lucky because I can do some data analysis and bioinformatic analysis and continue my work. But many of my colleagues who are doing experimental work that needs field studies, they cannot do this. They cannot do this because they don't have mobility, they don't have access to the resources, they cannot buy these resources, and they are suffering. We are all suffering, but we have to learn how to adapt and how to do our best. And I think the most important thing here is to learn how to survive and to convey the message for the society that we have to be strong enough because we have a message for our people. We simply would like to live. We would like to live like the rest of the people.
Pressure makes diamond, like if there's any consolidation in saying this, but I'm really sorry that this is the situation, and this is how things work, and this is how people feel. And
I mean, this is the situation in a place that still has, let's say, I would say, acceptable conditions of living in West Bank. I mean, imagine the situation in Gaza. It is a disaster. It's a total disaster. I mean, I cannot imagine how they are living there.
And as you said at the beginning, I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think that now there is any academic activities in Gaza. It's only survival activities.
No. I mean, there are most of the higher education organization, they were bombarded. So most of them, do not exist anymore, like physical buildings, and no communications, no. And many of I mean, I know few of my colleagues who I sometimes meet through Zoom, through some of the online meetings from Gaza. Unfortunately, we lost them in this war. They passed away. I know some of them from let's say fields related to what I do.
Teachers at universities.
Yeah. Many of the university professors and academics, I mean, these bombs, they don't have, they don't know specific targets. They are just killing everything in front of when they face the buildings. So I lost some of my very good colleagues who I know. I mean, I've never met them face to face, by the way. I usually meet my colleagues in Spain every year when I go to visit Spain through Jordan. I know some people from Gaza. I believe that they are friends and colleagues, but I only meet them through Zoom. Sometimes they ask me for something in bioinformatics, and trying to help here and there. Especially through my YouTube channel because they are attending some of the lectures. But unfortunately now, when you think of the situation in Gaza, I just think of. I hope that they will just survive and they will pass this difficult stage of their life, history.
Before the 7th of October, sorry, you were saying?
I hope that they will pass this very difficult stage of their history as soon as possible. And this for
We all
most of
hope
it.
so. We all hope so, and the general consensus that we have, and we are always hoping for, asking for, wishing for a ceasefire at the earliest. Regarding this, you said you have never met them before. Even before the 7th of October, it was difficult to go to Gaza if you're from the West Bank or the other way around.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you can imagine that for me, I when I go to teach in Barcelona, they ask me the same question. I say it's Barcelona is much closer. I mean, not physically, but in terms of accessibility, it's much closer for me if I go through the Jordan than Gaza. Gaza, it was like a dream. It's totally like separated with a lot of fences, and you have to go. To go to Gaza from West Bank, you have to cross some Israeli regions. And in order to get to Israel, first of all, you have to have the permission to get to Israel, and then you have to have another permission to cross from the Israelis territories to the Palestinian, to Gaza. This is another permission. By the way, we have permission for everything in life. We have permission to go from one place to another, to get to Jerusalem, to go to the hospital, especially when it comes to go to the, let's say, Jerusalem and other places in Israel. You have to have permission. Permission, everything. I mean, our life is full of different types of permissions, and Palestinians are very good in organizing their way of asking for these permissions and trying to help them each other to you have to go for this place to ask for permission A, B, C, and
How can we help in the CRG, the Tariqi, and on an institute level and on an individual level as people living there? How can we help?
First of all, let me address my answer to the general audience. I would like to thank all of those who are thinking of us and thinking how they can help us. But let me, before this, try to address the few points to those who are still hesitant what to do. I mean, in front of this conflict. As we all learn that human beings, they all have, as I said before, 46 chromosomes. This is the most important thing. We are all equal. And we have to judge based on this equity between human beings, regardless of the color of their skins, the religion, the sex, or the ethnic group, and so on. We have to be honest with ourselves. When we have to take a position in this conflict, we have to be honest with ourselves. It's very important to listen to the people and not to just be hacked or be engineered by the major media, let's say, industry. I'm pretty sure that as academics and researchers, we are, let's say, the most capable people of making rational judgment and being honest with ourselves and building our thoughts and decision based on evidence and not based on influenced by media that we don't know if it's really actually trying to mislead us or trying to be fair. Because in many cases there is bias in the way this conflict has been covered in the last decades. The second step, once you have this, you pass this stage, how to help the Palestinians right now. I mean, right now we want to survive. We want to survive. We want to live like the rest of the world, and that's the most important thing. I think there are many problems that we need to take care of before we could go back or we could come back to our, let's say, daily life and to start thinking again of how we can sustain the development that we have started in the last 20 years. So I think there are many things that we can do together with the CRG, like collaboration in research, collaboration in teaching, training, and also exchange of students. We are also having here a group of students who are really of very good quality, who would be very interested to continue their studies in places like CRG, which is distinguished institute, not only in Europe, but also in the world. So there are many things that we can think, but this comes like a second stage. I mean, just one point I would like here to highlight that one of the major, let's say, natural resources that Palestine is very rich with is not petroleum, is not the gas, it's not gold, is the young generation. We have young generation that they are full of energy, they are highly motivated, and still, I think this is one of the most important features that I have seen in the Palestinian, and I can judge a little bit like somebody who is looking from outside because I have been teaching in several places in the world, like in Turkey, in Spain. I've been working for some time in Italy, and I also did work for some time in Israeli universities. What is so unique with the Palestinian students is that they are highly motivated. They are highly independent in when it comes to solving the problems. Problem solving is one of the most critical features of these students, and maybe this is because of our daily life here. Life is full of problems, obstacles, checkpoints. So I think with time, we have evolved in a way that we have learned how to solve problems every day, and we have to make like bypasses. I mean, when my students are telling me how they come to the university, I don't know how to cry or to laugh because sometimes they tell me very strange stories. It's like they can make small movies for Hollywood for this. How they come, they have to make adventure, they have to go through the mountains, and sometimes they have to hide. They have to pretend that they are going to. So with a patient, and there are a lot of interesting stories, and this has honed the Palestinians with many skills to solve problem. I mean, and they are ready every day. The default is to have problems to solve them. When you live in another country, the default is to have standard life that is easy to work. I mean, everything is solved for you. You have the system, you have the transportation. No, here in Palestine, the default is you have to start your day with problems of closure, with problems of how to make financial management for your month, problem of how to transport, of health. So you have to be clever and smart enough to solve all these problems and to be independent and to work in a team. And this is another important. The Palestinians, they are very nice when it comes to work in a team. They are not people who are actually, they don't like to work with others, and they like to work separately. Talking about the teamwork here, I think that one of the interesting features of the Palestinian students is that they are friendly. They like to work with international team, and that's it. I mean, these are the main features of the Palestinian students, and I think there are some of them. Some of my students are doing very well in different European universities and the US, and hopefully one day we have of our students, Palestinian students, who can continue their studies at CRG.
And technically, you think they have adequate skills?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, when it comes to the domain of, let's say, modern biomedical sciences, especially these days, the most important, let's say, competences and skills in biomedical sciences is the capability to deal with data, analyzing data, and trying to have, let's say, some statistical skills. I think we have students who have get enough education in the field of genetics, genomics, data analysis, programming in different languages like R or Python. And I was astonished by some of my students who attended a mobility program in Norway last year. They've been for 3 months there, and they did a good part of their master thesis. They're doing work on, they learn by themselves very quickly in 3 months R, and they start using some of the programs for meta-analysis, Mendelian randomization. So, and this is a feature of most of the young generation in the world. I mean, the ambition of the young generation that are they grow with the with the ambition of being close to the media, I mean the modern way of dealing with how to get data and how to analyze data and how to benefit from data and from the digital, let's say, tools that are available to them. So I think this is part of big transformation that happened in the last 20 years to the new generation, not only in Palestine, but all over the world.
Thank you very much for giving us all this time and sharing all this with us. We are very grateful for this information, for this knowledge, and to getting to know you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Till we meet again.
Hopefully soon. Hopefully we can meet face to face this year when I come to Barcelona.
I hope so. I hope so. Okay.
Bye bye.